Hello and welcome to the new Sprocket 3.5. My name is Dustin Powers and I'll be giving you a brief tutorial on the use of the new Sprocket. I'm currently at a Sprocket site. I'm going to go ahead and log in. Something that I would like to point out is each account, your Sprocket site may look a little different. We can customize it to fit your needs. So you see I just logged in. It immediately took me to my Sprocket portal. The Sprocket portal is your place to set up any reports that you want to see, or in my case I set up the weather so that I can see what the weather is every morning when I log in. And you do that just from this drop down. You can select weather, click add widget, and it'll add it here. It's pretty simple to use. Okay, so the very first thing that we're going to go through is the creation of a new work order. So you see I'm currently logged in under the work management main heading here. There's a new work order link to the right. I'm going to click on new work order. That's going to bring us to the new work order screen. Now the first time you log in, you're not going to see this bottom half until you select from the drop down work order, and then under request code you're going to have to enter a request code. Now if you know generally what you're putting in a request for, like maybe a plumbing issue or lighting issue, if you start typing right here in the request code, it's going to bring up everything that has those key words in it or key letters. So you can select it from the drop down. If you have no idea what you're looking for in Sprocket, anytime you see this magnifying glass to the right hand side, you can click the magnifying glass and it will bring up a list of every option you have. So for request codes right now I can click access control, alarm, assemble, bed repair, bed request, etc. So whenever you do have one of these pop-ups, if you want to get rid of it, you simply click on the red X on the top right. And that takes you back to the screen. And you see it automatically fills in some of our key information. So it's filling in the requested by and contact information, email and phone number with the user that's logged in. Now anything in red is a required field, anything not in red is not required. So I'm going to go ahead and select the location. You see the location structure has changed a lot from what you're used to seeing. Now it follows a naming scheme that goes building number dash floor number dash area dash room number. So it's going to take a little bit to get used to. If you know it, you can go ahead and type it in. I'm going to call that the smart code from now on. But I'm not real familiar with your naming structure, so I'm going to click the magnifying glass and it's going to bring a location tree up. So I can see the HRC or HRHC master. So I'm going to click the plus and I'm going to look down the list and say, okay, I want to put a work order in for the MOB, and then I want to do it on the second floor, and maybe area E, and we want to go ahead and do MOB Suite 209 Office 4. So I click on it and it's going to automatically put that smart code in for me. So now I know it's building 4211 second floor area E room 4. The next thing you put in is the shop. If your account has multiple shops that Vanguard services such as POM, EVS, or security, you could put that in right here. The next block is equipment. If you're putting a work order in for a specific piece of equipment, then you can start typing it in, or again you can hit the magnifying glass to bring up a selection. So here I can see all the equipment that we currently have for your account in Sprocket. I'm going to go ahead and put this one in for this air handler. Even though it's a lighting request, I'm going to go ahead and put it in. And then under work type we have a couple of options such as in service, repair request, service request. So you can fill that in with the applicable work type. It's important to take good notes down here so that we know exactly what's wrong with whatever you're submitting the work order for. So I'm going to put that the indicator lights are out on the AHU. Okay. Now if you have the ability to assign an employee, then up on the top right here you'll see add or assign employee. You can click that and then it brings up a drop-down list of employees. This is automatically populated based on who typically gets the air handler units with the repair request type. If you do not see the person that you're looking for in here, you can simply click this manually assign checkbox, and then you can type anybody's name into here. Start typing. I'm going to go ahead and assign this one to Mary Lou Moss. So I type Moss, and here she is, M. Moss, Mary Lou Moss. And then on the very bottom, I just click Submit Work Order. Now it brought up our dispatching results page, and you see we have a couple of options here. Close and new, or close and clear, excuse me, will take us back to the same screen we were just on, but it will automatically clear any information on the screen so that we can go ahead and submit another work order. Close and new will take us back to the same screen we were just on and leave all the information in it. Now the reason you would want to use that is if, in this example, if I had multiple air handler units that all had the indicator lights out, I could click it again and go back and simply change the location. I don't have to put any of the other information in again. I don't have to put the equipment in, or the work type, or priority, or the employee, because it's going to hold that information. We can click on the My Requests link here, which will take you to show you every request that you have personally put into Sprocket, so you can check the status of them. The next link is Details for Work Order. Now the Details for Work Order will take you to the work order details, which looks similar to what we were just looking at, and except it'll have a little bit more information. Or Close. Close is the same as Close and New. It will take you back to the same screen with all the information filled out. I'm going to go ahead and click Close and Clear. So you see it cleared everything, and this is what the screen will look like when you log in the first time. Until you put a request code, it does not populate the bottom section of this screen. Okay, so the next area that we're going to go over is My Work Orders. Now this is for the technicians. The technicians will see any work orders that are assigned to them, any work that's waiting for them to complete. So see, I have a couple of work orders assigned to me. Looks like a bunch of morning rounds and some emergency generator weekly PMs. Now the other thing about this is, if you are a supervisor, it will also show you any of your employees' work orders, so you can check the status of their work and make sure that their work is progressing and they don't have a buildup of work orders assigned to them waiting to be worked on. The next screen to our left is going to be the My Request screen, and like I told you just a minute ago, this is going to show you every request that you have personally put into Sprocket. So again, I can check the status of it. I see these are all assigned, so they're assigned, but there's no work being done on them yet. The next link to the left is going to be the Manage Overview. Manage Overview is where most of the work in Sprocket primarily happens. Because you see we have a full list of all the work orders that are in this Sprocket, and some basic information about it. I can see the request code, the status of it, who created it, who requested it, the date it was open, the date it was closed, the work type, shop, employee assigned to it, and the location assigned to it. Now to get to the work order details, you can simply click on the work order number. That's going to load up the work order details screen so that you can see, like I said, some pretty much the same information we put in whenever we created it. So you can see the parent work order. If it had a parent work order, you can see the description of it. You can see equipment. You can see the employee. This one did not have an employee assigned to it, so I'm going to go ahead and assign this to D Powers, to myself. On the top right here we have save, save and exit, or exit. I'm going to go ahead and save it so that it has my employee. And then here you can see the notes associated with it. Now this is a PM, so the PM steps have been put in here. So you can see check wiring, connection switches, calibrate thermostat. So these are the procedures that were put in for this PM. Now once you're in here, we can also go to the Time tab. Time's pretty useful in that it allows us to post time to the work order. So maybe Mary Lou did some work on this work order, and she put an hour and 15 minutes worth of work into it today. On the wage multiplier, we have regular, overtime, or holiday pay. But again, if you wanted to see it, you could simply click the magnifying glass. For the date, this is the date that the work was done, the date that you're logging time for. So I'm going to log the time for today. Anytime in Sprocket where you have a date, you can push the letter T for today and it will auto-populate today's date, so you don't have to type it in. Or you can click the calendar to the right and you can go ahead and select the date from a calendar. Now I'm going to go ahead and save the time. This is maybe fairly common where you are. It's saying that M. Moss will have 1.25 more hours than scheduled. It's because we did not set up her work schedule in Sprocket. So I'm just going to tell it okay, that's fine. It's just a quick check and balance to make sure that you know you're going over the limit on it. Okay, so we're done with that, and the next thing that's pretty useful, to the far right you see saved files. Now what this would be useful for is if we have a work order that we're outsourcing. So maybe it's an inspection on our fire suppression system. So we can go here, click attach file, and upload the file, the inspection file, so that we do not have to keep the physical copies of it. We'll keep a digital copy of it right here in Sprocket, and it will be tied to the work order that was generated. I'm going to go back to the Manage Overview, so I'm just going to click Save and Exit, or you could click Manage Overview. But I want to make sure it saved my time and everything else. Now from here you can also see a brief summary of the work order by clicking on these eyes next to the work order. So if I click this eye, you can see it shows me actual labor hours. So far there's been 1.25 hours logged on this work order. The employee assigned to it is Dustin Powers. The equipment, description, so you can see some basic information about it. Now the next thing I want to talk about are the dispatch actions. You see we have a couple of dispatch actions here. If you learn these photos, then you can just click on them. If you don't know it, this down arrow will bring up a brief description of each of them. So we can mark it complete, we can change the status from assigned to in progress, or maybe waiting for materials or waiting for supervisor approval. By clicking that, we can cancel it with remarks, we can transfer the work order to another employee, we can print the work order, we can assign it to an employee, we can assign it to self, or we can post time to it. Now, these dispatch actions will vary depending on your privilege level. Some people may not have the ability to cancel a work order, for instance, or transfer it to an employee. Your only option may be assigned to self. So this is pretty important, and I will show you real quick. So you can see currently on this, well, we'll take the one that we assigned to Mary Lou, the lighting. You see over on the right hand side it shows M. Moss is the current employee. I'm going to go ahead and assign this to self. So I'm going to click Assign to Self, and it's going to automatically reassign this work order to D. Powers. So you see now it's assigned to D. Powers. Okay, now these are good if you want to do an action on one work order. But say I wanted to take these three work orders and assign them all to D. Powers. So instead of having to go through and do that to each of them, if you hit the checkboxes to the right, and then you go up to this dispatch actions group up here, and we can go ahead and perform this action, any action we want, to multiple employees. So I'm just going to assign this one to employee, and I'm going to go ahead and assign it to D. Powers. And for the note I'm going to put current employee is on PTO, so that you can track why was this work order reassigned to D. Powers. So it's performing the action on the first one, and then it will automatically go to 2 of 3 and then 3 of 3 to complete. It should not be taking this long, so I'm going to click close. Sometimes Sprocket will lock up on you. Yep, I'm going to go ahead and cancel that dispatch action. I'm going to refresh to see if it actually did any work on them. Yeah, it did the first one, but it did not get to the other two. So again, you can do any dispatch action up here you want. I'm going to assign it to self then, and there it goes, 1 of 2 then 2 of 2, so it reassigned those work orders to me. And that is going to be it for your brief. Oh, I'm sorry, one more thing. Whenever you first log in, on the top left here, it's going to say all closed. And it's not going to show you all the work orders, it's only going to show you all the closed work orders. This is a saved search. So to change it, on the right hand side you see we have Save Searches. Simply click Save Searches, and again, how many saved searches you have will depend on your level. And click on Manage Overview. Manage Overview shows you all open, it shows you all closed, it shows you all pending work orders, and everything you want to see. Also on the left hand side here there's a Search button. If you click Search, it brings up an entire list of things you can search by. So you can search by work order number, by employee, location. If you just wanted to